sucks.
That does suck.
Yeah, so I've been trying to maximize my sleep and water intake, but I don't know. Maybe you can hear it in my voice. I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit, but you sound okay.
That's good. I'm very excited to be doing this, however, for the first time.
Sick. I'm hyped too.
All right.
So, yeah, do you have any thoughts you want to share with me or talk about, or do you just want to hop into watching VODs?
No, I have some general thoughts. Which are that, like, so there's a couple things I know I need to get better at, and a couple of matchups that I think particularly want to work on. And so I found I was actually struggling I realized that a lot of the VODs that were recorded at the locals recently I couldn't find, so I needed to figure out how to find those. But I did find a set that I thought could be pretty informative between me and Sam.
Okay.
Because I want to work on two matchups I really want to work on. One is Fox and one is Sheik. And I'm bad at different things in both of them. It's been a while since I've seen this set. I remember if I were to think about it, I remember there was some spaghetti, but I think that could be informative. And also, I think I'd make a lot of really poor decisions against Sheik when I don't have to. Like, I think I always I'll be playing Sam and I'm just like, okay, if I just don't do anything really fucking stupid, I'll be fine. And then I do something really stupid. And I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
And yeah, that seems to happen in that matchup to me a lot. That's definitely something I want to work on. So that's kind of why I picked this set. I think I won this set actually, but it was such a nail biter that I don't really think it matters at that point. So yeah.
Cool.
Cool. I'll link it to you, I guess.
Yeah, link it to me.
Okay, cool. And the format of these lessons is usually centered around a VOD review, right?
Yeah, it technically doesn't have to be. If someone wanted to do something else, I'd be down. But
okay.
I think to do something else would require a lot of proactive work from the student side to prepare and have questions and know exactly what you want to talk about and work on.
Yeah.
So the VOD review is kind of the easy way, but I have had people where we just talk for 45 minutes about just things they wanted to talk about.
Okay. That makes sense. The next time, maybe we'll do that at some point. What I was hoping was next time we could go over a Fox Ditto, because I've been getting spanked at Fox Dittos.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you could give me a lot of input on those.
Sure.
But then in the future, maybe we could go over some punish game stuff that's more general. So I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah. Any of that is fine. If you show up and you're like, hey, these, 5 things punish game wise are things I want to talk out so that we have the flow chart or whatever. We can just sit down and do that.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me pull this up.
So good old JoJo recorded this set.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do, what I usually do is I tag people. I'll do something like this, and then I'll post a link here. By the way, typically recommend people to either take notes or record the lessons. Luckily, we have Blackout here, who is my resident recording lesson guy, which is
sweet.
So we'll have this one recorded, but in general, if you want to guarantee you have your own recording or notes, then you can do that.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And then, so I guess if you weren't sure how this works, now you know. It's I unmute you in the channel by giving you a role, and then everyone else who is a patron can just hop into this channel whenever and listen.
That makes sense. Yeah. Sweet.
Cool. So do you have that link open that I sent?
Yeah. Should I? It says I can choose my nickname in the room. Should I do that?
Yeah. You don't have to. I usually don't type there, but you can.
Okay.
If the video is playing for you, great. If it's not playing for you, try clicking somewhere on the video, and that should make it play.
Oh, nice. Look, it's playing. Look at that.
Cool. Can you mute the video? Because I can hear it through there.
Oh,
and then,
spicy.
So a couple things. One, since it sounds like you want to focus on some matchup-specific stuff, I'll try to focus on that. But 2, since we'll be doing lessons for a while, I want to try to get at what I think your biggest issues are. So the first lesson I do with anyone, usually what I do is I watch 2 or 3 stocks of the match kind of without talking at all. because I want to have a sense of prioritization. Because if the first thing you do is bad, but it never happens again, I don't really care.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch 2 or 3 stocks without talking, and I'll ask you to do the same. And then once we finish with that, and I feel like I've gotten enough stuff, I'll be like, okay, what do you think? And I'll tell you what I think, and we can kind of compare thoughts.
Great. Let's do it.
Cool. Okay. Did it go back to the beginning? Sorry, I didn't hear you. Did the video go back to the beginning?
Oh yeah, it did. My bad.
Okay. No, perfect. Okay.
I thought you were saying that as opposed to asking me that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No.
Man, I don't remember the set at all. This is good set of couple stocks.
Yeah, I mean, this looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay.
Maybe I just won game one.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So watch that whole game, actually. That's cool. Happened pretty quickly. So what do you think?
There were a couple. I mean, this is colored by my own sort of, obviously my own knowledge of my own strengths and weaknesses, but I feel like if I'm not hitting ledge dashes or if I'm not comfortable with my ledge dashes, I get pressured in the corner really easily and I have a tough time getting out.
Okay.
I think I shoot some lasers that are questionable.
Mm-hmm.
I got dash tacked out of one pretty early on. And then there were some other ones that I started winning, so it didn't matter as much. But I think that that match wasn't a great representation because I won pretty convincingly. But in matches where it gets close, I think I get exploited for shooting some lasers that I shouldn't be.
Okay.
And also I feel like Sam was kind of playing a little slow and a little rocky, but I feel like I could have been a little bit vulnerable to crouch canceling.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I feel like when I play that exact style against Sam when he's playing really well, he just ices me out really quickly. My aggression just kind of comes to a halt. Yeah, and also I don't know, I kind of feel like my game plan against Sheik is there's not much whiff punish involved. I feel like it's mostly just I'm trying to pick high EV aggressive options that are tough to punish or whatever, and just kind of bulldoze through them or past them. And that's kind of what I do. And I don't know if that's like the greatest at high level. I know it can be. It worked out that match. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Do you have any other thoughts, or is that the main stuff you want to talk about?
I also, it's also, this is also emblematic of a larger theme. And again, though, this is kind of matchup-y, right? But it's kind of not, which is that for some reason, I really don't prioritize grabbing.
Yeah.
I like really didn't grab.
And you certainly could have, obviously.
Yeah, like I don't think I up throw upward once, which was fine. I guess it worked out, but like
you grabbed him like 2 or 3 times, but yeah, definitely not much.
Even when I hit I was trying to do some stuff there. Even when I hit a wave shine, I well, for whatever reason, I tend to favor up smash. Maybe I shouldn't. You know,
it's something to think about for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll give you my thoughts. So I think, as far as the laser thing, so I think a lot of what you said made a lot of sense. But like you said, a lot of it's definitely colored by what you know already. So I'm going to try to talk more about this match specifically. Because even though this match went really well, I think there's like you said, you could see how even when it was working, you could see where it could go badly.
Right.
So I'm gonna try to focus on this. So in terms of like the bad lasers or some other stuff, I feel like, well, why do you think you did that? Because like you said, they didn't have much once you started winning, but like even the first ones were really bad. So like, why do you think that happened?
Interesting. I think, I remember excuse me. I remember I played JoJo right before this. This was a round robin tournament. The Spartan's like the opposite of Arcadian, right? So it's like only people that have been ranked can enter, and then you just play round robin because it only ends up being 10 to 20 people. A lot of fun, actually. You get a lot of good sets.
Yeah, that's
so I played JoJo before this, and our set was very close, and he played very defensive. And I remember I might have been in a mode where I felt like I needed to laser him a lot to kind of coax him forward. And historically, also, like when I used to play against Sheiks in tournament before Sam, so Tafo was a guy I played in tournament a lot when he played Melee, and I must have played him in 10 or more tournament sets. And I would always have to laser really heavily to get him to come forward at all, which is great for me because I get a lot of damage. Sam and Dewan, however, are 2 Sheiks that as soon as they think you're going to laser more than once, they'll actually just come forward and either boost grab you or dash attack you. And I think it's just kind of a bad habit because when I play Sam, if I'm not like actively thinking about it, like my muscle memory or whatever tells me like, oh, you should laser more here. It's a good idea. She can't get you.
There we got to the core, right? So it's like a bad habit that's rooted in, I would say, your game plan versus cheat, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's the perspective I want us to take on this, as opposed to just I wasn't paying attention or something, because it's like I think a lot of the issues you have are actually more game plan oriented or lack of game plan. So it's either you have an autopilot game plan that's not actually relevant to what's happening on screen, like that laser, or you didn't have a game plan in spots where it would have helped you, so you end up like kind of improving, and then that ends up being kind of random whether it works or not. So,
that really resounds with me.
Okay, I'm glad. And I think it was clear watching this game, even though you won. So what we're going to do, I think, is rather than being like, oh, I shoot bad lasers sometimes, we're going to say, let's come up with a more structured game plan for how we're going to approach fighting Sheik. So that could maybe include, don't ever shoot a laser unless there's X distance apart. Or, maybe you could even say, I won't laser at all until the Sheik establishes that they don't want to approach me, because there's like no, like the way I kind of think of it, it's kind of like the opposite of Leffen because he plays really greedy. But in my mind, it's like, if they're really not approaching me and I miss out on one laser that I would have gotten, it's okay because I can just laser them in a second, Like the 3% I was maybe going to get for shooting that laser, a quarter second earlier doesn't matter. I can wait until they establish that they're not going to be anywhere. And there's no calls.
I got you. Because they're going to stay there.
Yeah, they're going to. And even if they're not going to stay there, they're so far away that you actually can react, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
in terms of the reward you get for lasering, it's just like non-existent practically until you establish for sure. So you could just make that a general rule that there's no reason to shoot a greedy laser ever. Even if in your mind you're like, okay, I'm in the right mindset, he's gonna camp me. It's like, you know what? If he's gonna camp you, let him camp you for that half a second that takes to get apart from each other, and then
Mm,
you know.
I really like that. Yeah, I'm gonna try to work on that because I think I shoot. I like to use the word greedy. I shoot a lot of greedy lasers. I think like I'm. It's I don't know. I get away with it sometimes,
Yeah.
but me getting away with it makes it like you know what I mean. It reinforces it, which is better.
Yeah. But then I think the way to internalize it is even when you get away with it, it wasn't valuable. That's
Yeah.
what you need to tell yourself. Because like that 3%, you got that 3% and that's it. And you could have
Mhm.
gotten the 3% half a second later and it would have been identical.
What
Like
is your take? What is your take on the whole like? And I know there's a lot of different viewpoints among the top Fox players. Like Hax is very anti-laser. What
yeah.
is your take on the whole like getting some laser damage versus getting a little bit more stage?
I guess I'm pretty anti-laser overall, but I mean it's pretty matchup dependent. I think Melee is a game where like stage positioning is like extremely overrated, honestly.
Makes sense.
Like people talk about it so much and it's like realistically it doesn't affect interaction. Like, you know, if a Marth's in the corner but he has a full dashback length, it's the same as him not being in the corner, at least for that interaction itself.
Yeah, yeah,
It obviously changes for the next part of the interaction, which is why it matters.
yeah,
But essentially I would say that like um it's hard to put. Okay, here's the easiest way, I guess.
yeah.
I both think lasering's overrated and stage is overrated, but I'll say if someone's giving you the space to laser, you could take the space first, and then if they're still not doing anything, then you can laser from a better position.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's so I don't like sitting in the corner to laser people very much because they're giving me the space. But there are certain matchups where lasers are clearly the right choice. So I think like funnily enough, the times I laser the most, I think, are when I have an advantage. Like if I have a Peach stuck in the corner, she's at 80
Ah,
and I'm at 0, I'm gonna laser her to get her out of the corner camp.
right.
But I'm
Yeah,
not just gonna like start my match with Sheik with like retreating short hop laser to the other side. Like I'll see what happens, and if they want to camp me, then I'm like, sure, I'll take the free damage so you can't CC anymore.
got it.
Does
That
that kind
makes
of
total
make sense?
sense. Yeah, yeah. That helps a lot. That helps a
Cool.
lot.
I'm glad. So yeah,
I'll try to think about that. The whole greedy thing.
yeah, I think it'll, like I said, I think the thing that'll help you the most is realizing that you didn't actually gain much from hitting the laser. Because if
Yes.
it was a bad habit where like you're getting a KO or something, I can see why that's hard to fix. You're like,
Yeah.
I know I shouldn't do this, but it's killing him. But when you shouldn't be doing this and it gets you 3%, I think it's much easier to be like, well, whatever, that wasn't that important.
Yeah. True.
So let's watch this, but again, and I'm going to talk to you about some things. But yeah, so one, I think the game plan was inconsistent. So if the more structured we can establish that, the more it'll help you.
Mhm.
The other thing I think is in a lot of scramble situations, you stop reacting, while in neutral, you're clearly playing a pretty reactive playstyle. And I
Interesting.
think the reason this is a problem is because a scramble where the fox isn't playing reactively is one of the quickest ways for fox to like get grabbed and die or get knocked down and die.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
And the fact that you're saying Sheik is a matchup you want to work on makes total sense to me because scrambling badly with Sheik is probably the best way to lose to her.
Yeah.
Because her neutral, I mean, it's not bad, but like if you're a good fox player, you're usually doing well in neutral versus most Sheiks.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like you did fine. But all those scrambles where I see you like not reacting, I'm like, oh well, like you misjudged this or you didn't take a free hit. Like sometimes Sam would do something bad, but you were I almost wonder if you're just assuming he won't do anything bad or something like that. Um, I'm not exactly sure, so we'll have to talk about it when it comes down to it. But does that kind of
Wow.
make sense?
No, that makes total sense. Yeah. You know, it's actually really funny because I think games 2 and 3 of the set, in particular game 2, I think that happens a lot. I stop reacting in scrambles. So I
Okay.
think I already know what you're talking about. But anyway, yeah.
So let's look at it in terms of like the literal situations, and we'll see how it plays out, and you can tell me what you think. Um,
Perfect.
so I think there was some not reacting in scrambles that cost you a lot. I think you didn't have a structured game plan, like I said, in neutral. But also, I think when you were fighting him up close, um, a lot of the base ideas of what you were doing were really good. But game plan wise, they wouldn't make sense to me what you do afterwards, because it's like you would do this good thing, and I'd be like, okay, well, if you did this, it would only be for X or Y reason, but then you wouldn't really capitalize on what you were doing.
Mm.
And again, I think, and I'll show you specifics because I know that sounds very vague, but again, I think that's game plan related, because if you understood exactly how what you were going for was relevant, I think it would be easier to box yourself into the right solutions. So
Makes
I guess,
sense.
yeah, I'm glad. So I think maybe an overall way to put this is that you kind of don't limit your option sets ever, which can be a good thing and a bad thing, because it's great for learning, but I think it's pretty bad for actually winning a match, because you have so many things to work with that you're not actually picking the things that are most relevant to the situations. Like, you might do a bad laser. You might bait him and not even punish it because you were thinking about something else, or, stuff like that.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time.
Yeah, so we're going to work on, like, taking all of this crazy shit about Melee and structuring it into, like, not even like a small box, but just like, it needs to have some boundaries.
And by the way, most of what you're saying right now, is this more matchup specific or is this more general? Because I think it generally applies too.
Yeah, so I'm thinking it will generally apply. Again, my goal watching this is to try to figure out the things that are like inherent to the way you're playing the game as opposed to inherent to the matchup.
Right.
Something I have noticed though is sometimes when players are really good at specific matchups, they kind of like break through their barriers as a player. So if you watch someone who overall has these problems, you might take them at their best matchup, and suddenly the reason it's their best matchup is because they've actually naturally fixed a lot of the problems they traditionally have.
That makes sense.
So in that sense, it might not be a problem for you in every matchup, but I suspect that these are base issues overall when you play Melee. But then there might be certain days or certain matchups where you don't feel like any of those are issues.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's kind of more of a trap, because then you think it's a problem, but then it is.
Right.
And then the last thing I think I noticed was some risk reward stuff where I want, well, two things actually: risk reward and being predictable. So like when you have Sam at the edge, you pretty much always try to back air him.
Yeah,
Which,
I did that a lot.
yeah, and it worked fine. But there's a couple things. One, I think when Sheik is at like very low percents, back air is pretty bad risk reward, because well, one, obviously it can be CC'd, which is a big thing. Back air is like CC'able for a very long time. Two, if Sam's at low percent, he can kind of trade with you. And trades aren't bad for Fox, but if it's a situation where like you're both low percent, I don't think you're getting much out of those trades. When, like you said, you could be going for whiff punishes or grabs or something.
Yeah.
And then three, back air is actually like your laggiest aerial. So it's also the one that can be like, if they call it out, can get you fucked the most. As opposed to like, let's say like you think Sam's going to run forward. I'd much rather see a Fox do an undershot drill than a bear in place.
Got it.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
So risk reward on something like a back air, might not be that good. And that kind of manifested itself in other ways in other spots, and I'll show you that too. But then also in terms of being predictable, sometimes just not doing those backers and covering the same options in a different way could just make it harder for Sam to deal with you.
Yeah.
Because like, even if what you're doing is inherently good, just giving him more things to think about will just make it harder for him, because if I'm playing, a Fox player like roughly your skill level in tournament, I strongly feel that one of the reasons I end up beating them is because I get a sense for the general idea of what they're trying to do. And kind of the minutia of it doesn't even end up mattering, because I'm like, well, I know what he's going for, so I can just play around it in a very general sense, and then it just works out for me,
So there's almost this paradoxical thing going on where I don't limit my option sets when I should be, but also in places where it doesn't make sense to necessarily limit my option set, I do.
Yeah. So, and I think, again, this all goes back to the first thing we talked about, which is how well developed your game plan is.
Right.
Because if your game plan's better developed, you'll understand, okay, well, when Sheik's at the ledge and I'm at this percent, she's at this percent, that's a very situation. And because of that, it's very easy to develop a game plan for it, because you can identify it quickly and easily. There's no ambiguity.
Right.
Cool. So let's go back to the beginning. And we're going to try to talk about the match in the context of everything you and I just discussed, and we'll see if it makes sense and it helps.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see the lasers at the beginning. I also am not sure if you meant to full hop Nair or not, but I kind of didn't worry about it. So that's an example of something I didn't worry about too much.
I think I might have meant to do it.
Yeah, I think you might have been trying to read a jump or something.
Yeah, I think I was trying to catch him coming off the ground with a short hop or something.
Yeah, which is a very good read to make if Sheik. There's two situations. One, if Sheik is at higher percents, right? Because then the Nair is worth something. And then two, I don't know if this is one you've thought about, but when Sheik players think they have an advantage, they almost always push the advantage by jumping. So as when I'm on the defensive is when I'm likely to full hop Nair more often.
When they think they have an advantage.
Yes. So like let's say a Sheik knocks you down, you tech roll away, and they can't tech chase you because they're too far.
Right.
So many Sheiks run up and short hop.
Because they think you're gonna like run into Nair or something. Yeah.
Yeah, they think you're gonna run in, or they think you're gonna like maybe dash dance in place or hold shield. Like they just think, oh, it's my turn. And Sheik players love it when it's their turn because it's never their turn. So they're finally like, oh, it's my chance to do stuff. And then
makes sense.
So like for me, game plan wise, that's a good example. I only full hop Nair as a jump read if they're at high percent or if I'm on the defensive and they think they have Nair. But otherwise, I almost never do.
Okay.
And for just having those rules will just change the way you use that option, you know?
Yeah.
So suddenly we've like put that option in a box, but like you can still use it. It's just not going to be as arbitrary when you feel like doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Cool. So that's how I want to talk about all these options because I think that's what'll help. So let's see this. So Sam ends up dropping the tech chase.
Does.
And then you laser him. So yeah, so let's look at even the first set of lasers. So he just whiffed up smash. You dash danced and then went back and lasered. But let's see this. I don't even feel like you had time to see that Sam backed off before you committed to lasering.
Yeah, maybe.
Like if Sam had, so he short hopped, right? Yeah. Had he full drifted into you, I think he would have put himself in range to maybe back air you or at least threaten your landing, you know?
Out of the first.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, as a general rule, I would maybe just not shoot a laser unless the Sheik has established clearly that they don't want to do that. And now we have another rule that's easy to follow and just inherently puts you in a better position, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So let's talk about the next thing. So when you tech rolled here, he tried to down smash and it didn't work. What do you think of what you did afterwards?
That must have been a flub, I think.
Okay.
I think I did a crouch or something. I assume this was a flub of some sort.
Yeah, I think so too. Perhaps trying to, but I don't know what it would be.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Because if you were playing really reactively, you probably would have just punished the
back grab. Yeah.
So, funnily enough, something I think Otto was always amazing at versus Sheik is anytime a Sheik messed up a tech chase, he was really good at judging how much of an advantage he had. Because depending on what they whiff, you can punish it or read what they do after or, you know, whatever. Like if I play like Lucky and let's say I try to grab a tech in place and he tech rolls, Lucky will just like full hop half the time. But if I'm playing like Otto and I whiff a grab and he tech rolls, he's like, oh shit, and then he just drills at me. And even if it doesn't punish, I'm like, fuck, like it's got me pressured.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, you know, that's another game plan thing where it's like, okay, every time I tech versus Sheik, I'm going to make a meaningful, active decision on what to do.
In case they whiff.
Yeah, in case they whiff. Or maybe I'll realize, okay, they're clearly not going to whiff, so I'm going to make sure to mix up, you know, what I do. Maybe I'm going to shine, maybe I'm going to full hop, whatever, right? Like if I play Junebug Sheik, he never tech chases, so I would be more likely to full hop, even if it looks like he can get there in time.
Does he never tech chase? What does he do?
He like does the fake tech. He like tries to dash dance, dash attack your tech in place, even when it looks like he's in front of you in time. He's just like not planning on reacting, essentially.
Okay.
And like so essentially what I'm getting at is like, you know, I have this game plan versus every type of Sheik player. I have all the situations, and every time I tech, like I'm thinking about those things.
Right.
So let's look at this. So yeah, like look how this ends up working out for you. So like he's at really low percent. The back air won't get you much. But if you just like held your space on the ground and maybe like looked for a dash dance, Sam ledge dash shields, and also you probably know Sam pretty well, and I know him too. He loves ledge dash shield to beat foxes who are just spamming up tilt and like back air, right?
Yeah.
Like he calls it like the SFAT up tilt when he like ledge dash shield grabs the SFAT trying to up tilt him. So like even then, having your game plan set in your mind, knowing who you're fighting, like I would be looking for maybe a grab there. Or if I was gonna look for that, I would just play a solid ground game with running shine, undershot drills, grab. I wouldn't really full hop zone Sheik until maybe like what percent do you think like using a full hop to zone her would be good when she's on the ledge?
Yeah, higher, I guess. I mean, the only time the only thing you're looking for with full jumps at low percents is usually drill. So
yeah, so like, what if you want to use like full hop back? Like, what percent? Like, give me a number.
50? Or does that feel too low?
Yeah, somewhere around 50, right? Like, I'd say on the low end, maybe 40, 45, but realistically 50 plus. Yeah, exactly. But you know that. But if that's not like a conscious structure in your head, again, you might make the wrong decision. But as soon as she hits about 50, all those trades with your back air become amazing for you because it's like, oh, you traded, you might die now. So thinking about all those things and leveraging them properly. Another thing is when you do rising back air, you don't have much frame advantage. So, Sam was willing to wave dash forward tilt. But if that was like a delayed back air, like a delayed nair, Sam would not be comfortable moving out of the corner so easily.
Got it. What did I end up getting?
So you did rising bear dash dance. And since it was a rising bear, Sam was just like, okay, well, rising bear is not very advantageous. I'm just going to move forward.
Yeah.
And you could have outplayed it if you did like dash dance shield. Like I've seen Leffen do stuff like that, like rising nair, retreating, dash dance shield, and then shield grab the F tilt. But to me, I wouldn't even want to put myself in that little mix up because I'm like, well, I have her in the corner. I can just play a solid ground game.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So you would so to reiterate, what would you do?
I would essentially approach this as just I'm gonna play a ground game where Sheik's stuck in the corner. And that's like how I would approach it. Because if I'm playing ground game with Sheik, what am I thinking about? I'm thinking about running shines, maybe undershot drills to stop her from moving forward. I'm thinking about full hopping in place. I'm thinking about grabbing. I'm thinking about whiff punishing. And
can you elaborate on? I was going to say, can you elaborate on the running shine part? What are you?
Yeah,
if
so
she's in the corner.
Yeah, so maybe like she's in the corner, and then she's gonna want to like she's holding shield, and then I'm like dash dancing or wave dashing in place, and then she's finally like, okay, I'm gonna try to do something, and then I running shine her out of her wave dash, or I bait an F tilt and then running shine that. Or I bait her into jumping, because lots of Sheik players will short hop in the corner, and then I try to running shine her landing, stuff like that.
Got it. Okay.
But essentially, I'm just viewing that as pure ground game, because in my mind, I'm like, there's no real value. Like, if I hit that rising bear, I get nothing. But if he blocks it or he sees it, I lose my advantage.
Right.
So I kind of think of it as a risk-reward thing where I'm only going to play in a way where when I hit her, it's worth something. That doesn't mean I'm going to take big risks, but I'm only focused on options that lead to like good reward.
Makes sense.
Cool. So essentially, there's no time in Melee where you would want to be like intentionally choosing low reward options, unless it's somewhere where like you're at 0, they're at 150, and you just don't want to take any risk.
Right.
I would say you all, and that's why like, you've obviously played me. That's why a lot of the times when people play me, they feel like, wow, every time he touches me, I'm like losing my stock. It's because I'm not wasting my time doing things that can't take your stock.
Right.
Cool. So let's get watching. Let's watch this edge situation.
Oh yeah, this is weird.
Yeah, so not this particular time, but almost every other time this situation happened, I think you had a chance to like do something to Sam where he'd like whiff a down smash or something like that, or you'd bait him and you wouldn't do something with it. So I want us to pay attention to that later when it comes up.
Yeah.
So this looks good. Okay, so let's talk about that retreating laser. What does that actually accomplish?
I get 2 damage, I think.
Yeah, so you get 2 damage, and I guess you create some space between you two, right? Which you may or may not want. So, like, what do you think Sam might do there? So he sees you full hop to the middle of the back air, he F tilts. Like, what do Sheik players do there?
After the F tilt, is that what you mean?
Yeah, so he whiffs an F tilt as you're jumping over him, right?
He could F tilt again, facing me.
Okay, in case you like maybe run at him, right?
Right. Or he could start dash dancing.
Okay, he could just chill there. He could F tilt. Something to think about is maybe a bad Sheik would try to chase you and just dash attack or boost grab.
Right.
And then they would just not get there in time. And then some Sheiks would know that you're not going to push your advantage because maybe you're at high percent. You don't want to fight the Sheik who's just F tilting, and if you get hit, you die.
Right.
And some Sheiks might run forward and then just take advantage of the fact that you lasered, you know?
Yeah.
So in my opinion, it's like, okay, let's say you chill in that position. If Sam tries to engage with you directly with dash attack or boost grab, you could bait it easily with just a dash dance without the laser. If he tries to run forward and not do anything, he's just running straight into you, and that's risky for him. So it's almost like holding that position without retreating lasering is just like a better version of shooting that retreating laser.
That makes sense.
And then let's say Sam waves dash back or something, right? Like he doesn't want to fight you. You see the wave dash back, and then you shoot the laser without even needing to retreat.
Right.
Does that all make sense?
Now that I've confirmed that makes sense.
Yeah, and there's no risk, right? You didn't gain anything from shooting it now. All that laser does actually is potentially cause you to miss a whiff punish. Because Kalindi has this problem a lot, and I do lessons with him, where he'll bait a dash attack from a Mars, but he didn't like really hard bait it. He's like, oh, well, I'm just going to be safe. And it's like, wait, you could have been safe and punished his dash attack.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Wait, isn't whiff punishing Mars dash attack a myth?
I mean, you can whiff punish it if it misses. It just never misses.
Okay.
All right. No, I mean, you can actually whiff punish it if it's like you dodged it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I had this whole thing where I started doing better against Marth when I stopped trying to whiff punish that move.
Is it because you stopped looking for it?
I think it's because I literally talked to maybe I caught him before you beat this out of him, but we talked about how like trying to beat that move is impossible, and it's better just get way the fuck out of dodge because like it's just not worth it. And
yeah, so that's how it feels, right? But a lot of the times you can get the fuck out of there in a way that doesn't put you in lag.
Okay, I believe that.
Yeah, so I'm not even saying like you have to like really engage with it. It's just like instead of doing a retreating laser, just dash wave dash away or something, you know?
Yeah, all right. I can make that.
Yeah, it's functionally the same, but gives you a higher chance of doing it.
Yeah.
So again, and do you see how as we're talking about this, each one of these is framed in terms of like here are the variables of the situations, here's how we can structure it, here's how we can like actually break it down and make a structured game plan out of it.
Yeah, totally.
And that's the goal, right?
Right.
So messed up some execution there.
Yeah.
It happens. Do you think that happens somewhat regularly, or is that just like a one-off?
Like missing wave shines or whatever.
Yeah, like missing a backwards wave shine off a full hop, you know.
Not that regularly. Although I am kind of inconsistent. It's like one of those like if I'm playing well, I always hit it. But if I'm not playing well, then sometimes I flub it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know.
It's one of those.
So that's why I want to mention it. You know, that's something you might want to think about. Where like you want to judge your tech skill based off your off days, not based on your on days.
Yeah.
Because even on my off days, I'll hit my wave shines backwards. Like I'm positive, you know?
Makes sense.
So that's just something to think about. And I always tell people this, and I don't know if it'll be relevant to you, but you might appreciate hearing it. With tech skill, I think of it like, don't just think of it like a wave shine. And don't just think of it as a wave shine backwards. Think of it as a whiff punish to dash attack with a full hop falling drill. And it's like, you know, take every variable into account because it's literally different because your hand is in a physically different position. Your mental state is also in a different place. Does that make sense?
I practice ledge dashes like that where I try to practice them from all the different,
exactly
transitions.
But
it is interesting. Yeah. It is interesting hearing that in the context of other things.
Yeah, I think it's equally important because, like,
with
the ledge dash, you practice it off the shorten, off the mid shorten, off a high up B, off a low up B. You know, you practice it while imagining, the Falco player whiffed his down smash. I'm going to ledge dash on and punish it. But you might also imagine it as, he's just playing on stage. What am I going to do? You know, all these different. So
yeah.
I think both hand position and mental state are always relevant for all execution. So just if you ever find yourself kind of missing things more, like really think about that.
Okay. I'll incorporate that into my practice. There, I thought I could do some cheeky combo.
I mean, you almost had the grossest combo, so.
Yeah, it would have been nice if I was a little faster.
Honestly, I was surprised you didn't just go for grab though after that weakness.
Yeah, I could have. I don't know.
Like you see, like there's no way the Nair would have been better than grab unless he hard DI'd in.
Yeah,
but it's you don't need it. You don't need to make that assumption at all, right? Like you can just see and hit from it.
Right. And then the laser after it is sketchy.
Yeah, right. So it kind of feels like you're just in that autopilot mode. You're just like, I'm doing my flowchart of buttons, in this order.
Yeah.
And that's where, again, having that defined game plan, it's like but it also makes me wonder, not just game plan wise, but obviously you wouldn't think that lasering's a good idea if he's right next to you. So to me, that more means not just game plan, but it makes me wonder the extent to which you're reacting to what's going on. So let's go back and look at exactly what was happening. So you do this combo, doesn't work. Okay, so you whiff Shine Nair. What is he doing while you whiff Shine Nair? Let me go back.
While I whiff it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's trying to like box me in. He does the short up forward or forward.
Yeah, so he's rolling during your first Nair, and then during the Shine Nair, he's jumping, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's specifically jumping. So if while doing that Shine Nair, you were just looking at Sam and saw that he was jumping, I think you would have never chosen a laser. But I think what's likely happen is, since you messed up your Shine Nair, it might have even caused you to look at your character because your execution messed up.
Right.
Like, that's a common thing. I don't know if that's for you, but I see lots of people, when they mess up, they stop looking at the other character immediately. And then they often do something that gets them back in their their groove or whatever.
Their flow or whatever, yeah. Makes sense.
And that, to me, that's what that looks like. It looks like you messed up, you stop looking at him, and then you're like, I need to get back in my groove. So how do I do that? Oh, laser in place Nair.
Yeah.
So I think that the not reacting in scrambles, this was a great example of like something weird happened and suddenly you stopped watching.
What do you yeah, okay. So what do you do when you flub?
I try to, so I spent a lot of time training this. And not just when I flub, but funnily enough, when they flub, I had the same problem. I put a lot of effort into like just mindfulness or staying present, where I played a large number of games where my only explicit goal was to play the situation out without thinking about what happened before or what could happen after.
So you're just reacting to whatever's on the screen.
Yeah, I'm just trusting myself to do that. And that sounds like, oh, you should always be doing that. But I think that's a really bad way to learn. Because if you're always staying present, you can't think about why did I mess up, right?
Right.
But that's a horrible way to compete, to think about why you messed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Similarly, I had the problem in reverse, where, like, let's say, because I'm thinking about their intention, if I see someone spot dodge on a platform, I mentally know they meant to shield drop. So since I'm such a friendlies player, I'm like, oh, well, if they had shield drop, what would have happened? Was what I did good? Or I think, okay, well, like, what would have played it out? And then they spot dodge, and then I'm not ready. But then if you watch like fucking Wizrobe or Armada, they don't give a fuck that you messed up. They just kill you for it.
Yeah.
So again, the same thing. So I would recommend like playing some number of sessions, where you spend 20 minutes specifically focusing on mindfulness as opposed to, learning or something.
And that's just, and so you're saying like practice doing the Wizard of Armada thing where you're just playing what's on the screen.
Yes, I think that's extremely valuable to practice if you're a player that has their attention taken away from the match for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's I think I can try to work on that.
Yeah, and it's something I just, anything from just like it's a mindfulness thing even outside of the game. I literally spent some time just like almost meditating, thinking, relaxing, focusing on what's happening, and then I go into some friendlies and I'm like, okay, look, I don't care about learning it all right now. I only care about practicing observing what's happening.
Yeah.
And then after I just observed for like 10 minutes, I was like, okay, now I'm just going to play my best only based on what I see. And, I did that for like a while until I got better at it.
Okay.
Yeah. It was actually probably one of my biggest tournament issues was like me not thinking because I was trying to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just horrible. It's horrible for competition.
Yeah. I think I do that too, actually.
Yeah, I mean, you probably do, because I think a lot of players who are just like enormous friendlies grinders who've been playing for like 10 plus years have that problem. Because it's just like our natural state is playing 6 hours of Fox Dittos until 6 in the morning, doing like that's just how it is. Like Sleepy has that problem too, where it's like he would be a really bad tournament player until he learned to like stop thinking about all these other things.
Right.
So
by the way, I don't know why I double jumped right there.
Yeah, so like you should just full hop, right?
I know for a fact I should just full hop. Yeah. I don't know why.
Yeah, so I mean, but punish game flowcharts, right? Like know those percents in your heart, memorize, so you never mess them up.
Yeah.
So I like your attempted shine spike a lot. I actually think you did the right thing, and it just like you didn't quite get there in time. The short hop off
it
shine
looked like it could work. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a cool idea. But then let's talk about what happens after. So I actually think Sam gave you the edge for free. Like when you whiffed that short hop nair, you could have wave dash back, fast fallen, and grabbed the edge.
I whiffed the short hop nair.
Yeah, let me go back a little bit so you can see it.
Oh yeah, that was spooky.
So what do you think of that? Because stuff like this actually happens to you.
I don't know what the hell he was doing.
Yeah, so he was just doing weird shit, right?
I thought he was gonna needle turnaround or something. Like I didn't trust it. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Wait. How fast? See, if he needle turnaround, turned around.
I don't think he can even grab the edge from there.
You sure?
Maybe right. I don't know. I've never seen a Sheik do that.
Sam wouldn't do it anyway, so I guess you're right. Like
I've also just never seen it from Dreamland. Like I almost wonder if you'd have too much momentum the wrong way or something.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Or maybe like if you did it, you'd have to be on the exact right part of the wall or something, you know?
Yeah.
So that's something where to me, like that
I could
something
just go to the edge.
That threw you off. But like if that were me, I'd be like, oh, I'm just grabbing the edge right now.
Yeah. That was awkward. The funny thing is, I actually really remember, I made a mental moment of that, the thing that happens next, and I do punish the air dodge the next couple games.
Okay,
there, I could have, one, just bared the air dodge. Like, I could have bared it earlier. Two, once I saw that he tried to down smash, do the cheeky down smash, I could have just shine stalled longer and then
hit it, yeah. So
and then just drilled him or whatever.
Exactly. So the part that bothered me wasn't even just missing the air dodge, it was the fact that you didn't try to punish off the shine stall.
Yeah, which I really should have. Later in the set, I do. I remember I made a note of this in my brain, like don't ever. But so, yeah.
Yeah, but then so again, let's go back though. Why do you? Because like obviously, it's not like that requires like a massive amount of intelligence to do or something.
No.
It just requires paying attention and being like not autopiloting to what you were planning on doing anyway, or like maybe ignoring that it feels uncomfortable being off the stage and just like playing it out, right?
Yeah.
So like for you personally, what do you think was the biggest contributing factor to like not going for that?
I find, let's see, I don't know, probably a mixture of habit and also the fact that I get sketched out in the corner against Sam in general because so many of my games against him just nebulously go. I know, and it's like
he's good at the corner, just like
and I know it's a lazy way to think about it. It's the whole like, oh, don't fight Mute King at the corner.
Yes, yeah.
Even though it's Marth, and even though Marth is not actually necessarily that invincible on the ledge,
it's just like don't fight Mute King at the corner.
Yeah, it's just people, So I think I make mad decisions against particularly Sam in the corner because I really fear him there.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can almost think of it, and I say this to some people, it's like you're putting a blanket over your eyes and just not looking at the situation anymore.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something you can explicitly note to yourself that I think the edge is one, but there are actually some other scramble situations where I think you kind of have that blanket, like
like the forward tilt earlier, things like that.
So I think one thing I would recommend is when you're playing next time, or next time you watch VODs of yourself or whatever, look for situations where you feel like you had that blanket over your eyes, pick them out and say, okay, these are 3 common situations where I stop just looking. And then just, make it a note to look next time you play friendlies. And I think
I'm just pressing buttons right now kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
But again, I would make sure to have a categorization. I'd say when I'm near the edge in a sticky feeling situation, that's when I stop looking. I wouldn't just say, oh, when Sam whips down smash, make sure to punish it, because that's pretty useless. But saying when it's a sticky situation near the edge, every time that happens, it'll clue you in to look.
All right. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Wonderful. So in terms of approaching improving, I think for you, we're going to have to focus on categorizing the situations, because I think you already know solutions. That's not the problem.
Yeah.
It's categorizing so that you notice them instantly as soon as they happen.
Right. Yeah. Right now it feels like I almost have to get like lucky. Like, does the solution I pick, is it the actual best solution?
Yeah, it's arbitrary, right? Which is sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Is he about to forward tilt my shield? And I don't punish it?
He forward tilts your shield.
Well, I do punish it, but
you do something crazy to punish it.
Yeah, I guess I didn't trust the spacing.
Yeah, which is funny because dash forward shield is explicitly the good option to beat dash attack and forward tilt there.
Yeah.
Like, you did the right thing, you just have to execute. I like what you did, but again, maybe that goes back to game plan, right? Like, you didn't trust it, so you did something else. And I like the improv, that was really cool. But it was just like, why not up smash, right?
Yeah.
But again, the most important thing here, I think, is not just looking at it and saying, I should have up smashed. It's looking at it and saying, what was my mental state? How do I know to up smash?
Right.
And I think that's probably the biggest trap people have when they analyze. They're just like, what was the right answer? When it's more like, why wasn't I able to pick the right answer?
Right. So if they do the whole what is the right answer thing enough, theoretically, they come up with answers for every single situation in the whole game and they become a top player. But it's much more efficient to actually look at your mentality and figure out why the hell you picked the thing you
solves more problems more quickly.
Yeah.
And also, if they do the other thing, they might not even become good because they still might not put themselves in the right state to solve it. And then that's how you have a ton of players who get pretty good and then go, oh, I know what to do, I just can't do it. And it's like, well, yeah, because you didn't think that at dash forward shield, you didn't think far enough ahead to believe that, like, that's what it covered, you know?
Right.
You were just trusting your intuition and then retroactively saying, oh, I should have gotten that.
Right. And that's just like not good enough.
For new players, I actually think just coming up with the answers is actually really good, though, because the game's so complicated that, like, you know, they don't know how to come up with answers yet. So it's very good practice for
them. Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
But for you, you know, I don't doubt that you know that up smash is the right answer, and you don't, and I know you know all the spacings where it works and doesn't. So that's not relevant anymore.
Yeah.
Cool. So
that's true.
So let's keep watching. Because you start running away with this game.
Yeah, what happens?
So you mess up a little bit, that's fine.
We both mess up a little bit there. I'm kind of taking this stock on borrowed time.
Yeah, so like let's look at this. So like you neutral stood again, which wasn't on purpose, but then you were already buffering roll, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like there's no real reason to be doing that, right?
What would you do?
I mean, if I just neutral stood, I mean, I would have done what you did and shielded, and then if I was really freaking out, I would have just grabbed the edge again. But if I was, right?
You're right.
And so my freak out option is grab edge, not roll. And then my like confident option would be like wave dash.
Right.
Or wave dash in place, like one of the two. Because I can wave dash place and then play a mix up where I like, especially, so this is funny, even though you're in a bad situation, if you hard read him short hopping here and wave dash in place and run up, you know, up air, up smash or whatever in air, or you read him F tilting and then you dash and grab it, like this can be a big reversal for you if he's not careful.
Right.
But so yeah, wave dash in place or forward. But also again, I think the idea that my freak out option is going to ledge is just, again, that's more of a game plan thing than a me being a good player thing, which are related, but like it doesn't require smarts. It just requires you to change what your uncertain option is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And again, I think that's how I think you need to approach improving, because I think that it's more about refining your flow charts than it is like being smarter.
You know what's really funny too is that it looks like, because there are definitely days, and this is just me needing to practice more rigorously or whatever, but there are definitely times when I feel like I can't trust my ledge dashes, so I feel like I can't go to the ledge and do the whole like grab ledge dash, you know, hacks money thing, because I'm like I'm missing a lot of ledge dashes today, like, you know, and then I feel like I need to play less of that. But the funny thing is, watching this game, it looks like I'm hitting all my ledge dashes, so it's surprising. It's surprising to me that I'm not going to the ledge. It feels like I'm hitting all of them, so I should just go to the ledge and ledge dash. Like, fuck it.
Well, I think another funny thing is, like, if you, the only way to guarantee that you'll be comfortable ledge dashing is just to go there even when your ledge dashes aren't on point.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because, like, I feel like your execution's good enough that, like, you know how to ledge dash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously you're not perfect at it, but it's one of those things where it's like, there's one really good way to get yourself to be able to do it, and it's just to put yourself in the situation.
And just doing it and just grinding it out. Like, even when you're...
So I know you're going to fix your tech skill eventually. What I don't know is if you're going to fix your decision making. So like my perspective is I will set myself up to always be making the good decisions, right?
Yeah.
Because by not believing in it, you're literally ingraining all these bad habits. And now you have to, so now going to the edge becomes a smart decision rather than a flowchart decision. And then it becomes that much harder to be good. I don't have to be smart. I just do, because I just do the thing every time.
You just do it. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I care about it. It's about building the right decision-making process. Again, the right game plan. Because I can fill in the gaps later. I have no doubt that, if I haven't been ledge dashing well and I have a tournament coming up, I will do it. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Let me, 1 second. I need to message Zaid real quick because he's next.
Like Spark, Zaid?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, also, you might care about this. I'm not sure, but I have a calendar channel that has both my calendar and schedule of lessons, and then a Google Doc that has the people's names. So if you want to be like, when are Kalindi's lessons or something, you can just check my calendar.
Calendar, is that calendar and character?
Yes.
Channel? Oh.
Yeah, and you have to like add it to your Google Calendar. But yeah, like lots of people use that because if they're like, if they're a Fox main, they just look at all my Fox mains and go, hey, here are the 2 Fox mains whose lessons I like a lot, so I'll tune into all of it.
Yeah, you don't have my name on here, by the way.
Yeah, because I haven't updated it for this month yet. Yeah, so I need, because I just switched out who I have students for.
Well, your ratio of like, how do I word this? Your ratio of player who is a top player of that character is so much higher for Sheiks.
Yeah, the Sheik player skill level is very high.
Well, I guess actually the highest ratio is Captain Falcon because your only student is Zio.
Yeah, Zio's a god. Well, he stopped taking lessons finally, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, okay. So let's go ahead and start kind of wrapping up, summarizing, because I feel like we've talked about so many things.
Talked about a lot, yeah.
Yeah. So like, one, like, how do you feel about all this? What are your thoughts? Like, does it all make sense? Are there things you're confident in, not confident in?
I will work on, it all makes sense. I will work on looking at the screen more, in particular in scuffles, I think, are where it falls apart for me pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I'll think about it in the context of other matchups too. It definitely rings true for me in Sheik. I feel like I just kind of push buttons in Sheik. I think something in me a long time ago, I internalized that I can't react to what Sheik does because, like, when I try to react to what Sheik does, her frame data is just a little bit faster than I thought it was, and it falls apart. Yeah, which I know isn't actually that true deep down, but next time we talk, I would actually be really interested in well, I want to go over Fox Heroes 2 at some point, but it would be good to, well, maybe I can think about this on my own too. I feel like I feel like you're, okay, actually this is a question for you. Do you feel like my game plan deficiency is more in neutral, or do you feel like it's more in situations, or both?
I think it's equally both. I think it's just the idea that the game plan isn't consistently established in a good way.
Okay.
And then that manifests itself across the board.
And you think that essentially by practicing, like being a little bit more like just playing, like responding to what my opponent's doing, looking at the screen is one good way that I can develop this.
Yeah. But then the other part of that is I think you need to, again, concretely identify what the situations are. It's like, okay, I will only laser when she's X making those rules.
Right. Making those rules for myself.
Because I think you could look at the screen and still have the wrong intuitions because of habits you've built up, or even just not thinking about it.
Right.
And again, like, looking at the screen is definitely like, if you could always play in the moment present and look, like you said, you'll just be the best player ever. But like, we can make that 100 times easier just by having the rules set out and being like, this is this situation. This is this situation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. Yeah, that helps a lot.
And that's what I think you need to focus on the most, is concretely categorizing situations so that you can take your, huge option set and break it down into like more concrete chunks, I guess.
Like, this is what I'm actually going to do there. And then also places where I have, it's not just places where I don't have an established set of options that I'm going to do. It's places where I seem to have established a set of options that I do, but it's like the wrong options. Like
exactly.
Like the bear in the corner thing is a big one.
Yes, absolutely. It goes, and that's why I think this is the most important thing. Because it covers like watching that whole match, I was like, oh, look, I can identify this one thing that's actually causing like everything.
Yeah, got it.
And then, as you work on this, you'll notice all the specifics and you can work on them one at a time. Like, obviously, you can't just fix it all at once. But,
Right.
um, so just to go over some other things we talked about that you can have like kind of on the back burner, because this is something that happens a lot is two issues happen when I help people. One, they don't prioritize well because I give them so many things, but I think you prioritize very well, which is good. But then the flip side of that is when there's so many things to work on, it could be 6 months from now, and Kalindi will be like, man, I went back and watched our first lesson, and there was like 10 things that I still haven't done that would have like won me my last set. So, maybe like we focus on this stuff, but then you might not think about, risk reward on percents versus Sheik, right? Where like, I would be playing ground game when she's at 0 at the edge. I wouldn't be back airing. And like you said, only back air 50. Or like the punish game stuff where you're like, oh, I double jump aired and I know better. But I bet you if you knew all your percents for Sheik in every situation, you would probably perform like a tier better in skill versus Sheik just by knowing all the percents and follow up.
Just overall, just in general, yeah.
Yeah. Like I think I became like that's one reason I think I did better than other Foxes in a lot of matchups. Like for example, I always did really well versus Axe compared to everyone else. One reason for that is because I know every up throw follow up at every percent. So he never got away with anything. And then every time he was at KO percent, he got second hit up air.
Right.
But if you watch, like SFAT versus Axe, he does amazing, and then he doesn't know the up throw up air percent, or he misses an up throw back air and gets tail spike reversed and then loses his stock.
Right.
And it's just like, so there's lots of things there, and I just want you to kind of, since this is recorded, you can go back and watch it, or if you took some notes, you can go back and read through and just make sure that at some point everything gets looked at.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
We'll do.
Awesome. Well, if you don't have any other thoughts, then have a great day, and we will talk, whenever your next lesson is.
Yeah, I will. I'll go over the stuff. Also, unrelated, I might message you some random questions about not melee, but improving at fighting games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
especially as a beginner.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different, but yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. Also happy to talk about melee. Just feel free to message me literally anytime, and I'll get to you as soon as I can.
Sweet. Okay, man.
I will say if it's melee related, can you message me on Discord?
Yeah, sounds good.
If it's anything else, I can talk elsewhere. But I like to keep all the melee on Discord so that like I don't go like Twitter or Facebook or something, and I'm like, more melee. Like,
right. I'll message you on Discord anyway. Discord DM, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, man. Have a good day.
Yeah, have a good day and good luck.
Sweet. Bye-bye.
All right, see ya.